Hi, I'm Cody, and I look after the developer experience team here at LaunchDarkly. In this session, we're going to start off by showing LaunchDarkly's mobile lifecycle assistant functionality up front, and then step behind the curtain a bit with Ben Woskow, LaunchDarkly's Director of Engineering. But first, why did we develop so many capabilities specifically for mobile devices? Consider the fact that in many cases, the first time your user is going to interact with your business, it's probably going to be on their mobile device. This creates a few unique challenges for managing that experience. First, there's a mountain of things working against mobile developers from a control perspective once their code actually ships. We can't guarantee consistent release timing between the major application store platforms. The Apple and Android application stores are going to publish at different times, creating an immediate inconsistency in your user base. It also creates a challenge for publishing any sort of urgent fix if something goes wrong. Once we do get an application version shipped, we can't guarantee that your mobile users are going to actually install it. Not everyone opts in to mobile updates by default. Even if we do get a bug fix published, it doesn't mean our users are going to actually use it. Also, people keep their devices for inconsistent amounts of time. I've got friends still using Pixel 4s or iPhone 10s because they really love the form factors. How do we get visibility and control around such a wide device base? When we're developing for web applications, it's easy to expect that a user will just get a new version of your application when they reload the page. It's just not the same on a mobile device. Our goal in this release, which Ben is going to talk a lot more about, was to restore control to mobile development teams and give them ways to manage their user experiences even in the face of all of these challenges. All of the same capabilities we've talked about in the previous summits, the speed of releases combined with risk mitigation, the managing of target experiences, the ability to experiment and measure features, all are first class alongside measuring and managing the entire mobile lifecycle. We want mobile developers to feel empowered in the same way that traditional application teams do. With that said, let's jump into the demo and check out the unique ways LaunchDarkly is approaching mobile.
LaunchDarkly's mobile lifecycle assistant gives engineering teams the ability to manage each stage of the mobile development lifecycle for the applications they're building. We're giving you better controls over how you roll out changes to your end users, how you roll back problems, how you target specific device types, properties, users, and more with those changes, and how you get better visibility across the entire mobile landscape within your environment. Let's jump in first to the way people build these applications. This is the LaunchDarkly Flutter SDK. LaunchDarkly has a number of different mobile-specific SDKs that are designed to help teams build mobile applications better. We've added a new capability here to automatically discover device targeting properties for applications inside of your environment. When you install the LaunchDarkly SDK, you can enable this auto environment attributes feature, and it'll collect device details that can be used for targeting later. Before, this would have been custom code that teams had to implement to discover things like OS type, device model, manufacturer, but all of those are discovered now out of the box, reducing the friction and reducing the custom code that your teams need to develop. Inside the LaunchDarkly interface, if we take a look at our context view and inside of our device properties, we can see those properties available now that we can target off of. This is all available out of the box. It doesn't require your engineering teams to stitch together custom solutions at all. So if I wanted to roll out a new feature, like this recommended meals feature, I can choose to target off of mobile, and I have those properties now available for me to target off of. I could come in and say, I want to choose a specific manufacturer, and I only want to roll this out to my Apple users. Now, when I turn this on, the application will automatically update on the right-hand side. We can see that personalized recommendations is now immediately available inside of the application. And if there was a problem, turning it off is just as fast. If you have to wait more than 1 second to roll back any problem, that's unacceptable. LaunchDarkly can let you do it almost instantly. Now, if we were happy with this change, we could choose to expand it out further. Say I wanted to roll it out to our Android friends as well. I can turn that feature on, and I've now expanded that change radius out to an entire new device type. Again, we want to give control back to mobile application teams and not have to have them rely on every change rolling through the application stores. We can include those changes in the code so you pass code review and give you the ability to turn them on or off individually, giving you full control over the risk of your mobile application development. So we've shown how you can develop a new feature using the LaunchDarkly SDKs, how you can automatically discover properties, and how you can roll out a change. But what if you want a better view into the state of applications inside of your mobile environment? LaunchDarkly's rolled out this new application-centric view that'll give you a view into the different application versions that are being consumed across your entire mobile landscape. This is obviously a demo environment, so it's much smaller, but we can see the different versions that have connected into this environment. Now, if I wanted to start to deprecate out an old version and move people up the chain to new versions of my software, I can come in, edit the support status for an old version, and set it to unsupported. Now I can target changes off of that support status and provide my users with feedback on when it's time to upgrade. If I take a look at my feature flag list here, I can see I have to display the unsupported version pop-up. This feature displays a pop-up indicating that someone should upgrade, and now I can choose to target a mobile, remove the device targeting, and I can choose version support status. If it's unsupported for iOS devices, I want to show that pop-up. We can see once I turn it on, I'm automatically receiving that because I am running the version 1.1.0 of this application. 1 second while I go and upgrade to the new version. We can see I've rolled out the new 1.3.0 version, and I'm no longer receiving that pop-up in the screen. Again, it's all about giving mobile application teams better control over the way they're releasing changes and software out to their end users, so you can release software faster and build products that your customers love. So the next stage in the life cycle is often what happens when you want to retire out a feature that's no longer in use. For example, this 2021 rebrand. Now we can come in and select Deprecate Flag. Deprecating a flag is a new feature we've introduced that lets us remove this feature from visibility in the UI, but still serves its properties out. So in this case, I can see it hasn't been used in 7 days by anyone inside of our environment. I can choose to deprecate this feature out now. No longer in use, let it go. Deprecated features still serve their properties up, so if somebody was to connect and want to evaluate that feature, they would still receive the values back and be able to successfully present their feature to end users. But it no longer clogs up the user interface with a feature that most people don't actually need anymore. So there you have it. We've shown an entire life cycle of new features being rolled out, new parts of the application being developed, new ways to target releases out, better visibility across the entire application landscape, and the ability to retire out features that are no longer in use. We really hope you enjoy LaunchDarkly's new mobile lifecycle assistant. Let us know if you have any questions. We're always here to help.
So Ben, now that I've totally stolen all of your demo content for my own purposes, I want to ask you about a few things that have come up over the past few months. We've got some great questions from customers and people who have attended other summits around what we're releasing with the mobile lifecycle assistant. But before we jump into those questions, I want to ask you personally, what's something about the mobile lifecycle assistant and mobile lifecycle space that resonates with you from the customer conversations you're having?
Yeah. What really excites me is bringing application versions to the forefront of feature management. With our mobile lifecycle assistant, we allow customers to view the adoption metrics of their application versions and to mark their application versions as unsupported. And then for that support status to affect their flag targeting, it's really cool when put all together.
Yeah, I love that. One of my favorite things about the LaunchDarkly platform is the interesting ways that the different aspects of it tie into the different parts of the actual application workflow. The example you gave of using something like an adoption metric to help you understand when to sunset a version is a great example of that. I showed off a few of the high-level challenges, but with you being so close to the actual product development and also your engineering focus, can you talk me through some of the technical considerations for mobile and how we've prioritized those in the mobile development experience?
Yeah, of course. At LaunchDarkly, we want to empower all teams to deliver, control, and measure their software. And we want to do that for all teams, building all kinds of software, whether that's web applications, microservices, or mobile apps. And in order to do this, we need to really understand our diverse customer base at a really deep level. We need to solve actual real-life problems that they're having. In the mobile space, this means handling network connectivity, data usage, and battery consumption as examples.
This is great. So let's talk about that concept of network connectivity first. Since architecture is something we talk a lot about, I'm sure the mobile development teams who are watching this want to understand at a deeper level how this impacts something like a phone or a tablet connecting to LaunchDarkly versus the typical browser experience.
Let's talk through the network connectivity and architecture a bit. Unlike server-side apps, mobile apps are prone to lose their network connectivity from time to time as devices move between cell towers or enter dead zones. But customers expect their apps to continue working, even when their devices are offline or have a slow network connection. And so, again, our architecture is built for this. Within LaunchDarkly's SDKs, flag evaluations happen in memory on the local device based on the last known set of flag values. This means that apps which were previously connected to the internet will just continue working. They'll continue evaluating flags just like they did when they were online. And apps which haven't ever been online can still evaluate flags using the application defaults defined in their app code.
Absolutely. We talk about this concept a lot when we talk through the resiliency of the LaunchDarkly platform. There's so much built in to ensure that devices are still able to receive their values or sane defaults, even if the network connectivity is unavailable. There's a misconception at times that if the network is down, nothing's going to work. But that's just not the case inside of our environment. How do these concepts feed into things like data usage or battery consumption from a mobile lens? I have to expect that's a big consideration.
Sure. Mobile apps have to be really aware of how much data they're sending and receiving and how much battery they're consuming. Devices are pretty frequently resource constrained, and it's more and more likely that customers are going to uninstall apps that they feel are misbehaving. In fact, modern operating systems are so good at offering visibility into which apps are misbehaving in terms of transmitting too much data or consuming too much battery. Our mobile SDKs can operate in two modes, streaming or polling, depending on the situation. When your app runs in the foreground, our SDK establishes a long-lived streaming connection, which can receive near-instant flag updates with minimal additional data consumed. And when your app transitions to the background, our SDK switches to a polling mode to conserve battery. We pride ourselves in our performance and scalability metrics, delivering trillions of feature flags to customers all around the globe in the scale of milliseconds.
It really is incredible. And on that note, getting into the SDKs just a little bit, especially since we're talking about architecture, it's pretty incredible when you consider the amount of effort that we've put into ensuring that developers are actually able to build with them effectively. One thing I think a lot about when it comes to the idea of developer experience is giving developers the ability to build the way that they need to. And one of those ways is making sure you give them the languages that they need. Inside of LaunchDarkly, we have the additional consideration of making sure that as they move between different language types or platforms, that they're getting a consistent experience across them all.
Absolutely, that's really important to our customers. And that's why we support all major versions and frameworks. In the mobile space, we have first-class support for native iOS apps built in Swift or Objective-C, native Android apps built in Kotlin or Java, and cross-platform apps built in Flutter, React Native, and .NET Xamarin. As you mentioned, software teams, they expect feature parity and consistent experiences across all of their apps, whether that be on iOS, Android, web, or elsewhere.
Yeah, and another thing to think about on that is consistency is one of the things that really does help reduce developer friction. If you can prevent an engineering team from having to handcraft a bunch of different solutions, developers are going to be a lot happier. Shifting gears a bit and going back to the demo, obviously it's always fun getting to show off the product a bit and all of the different things it can do. But from your conversations with customers, what does that actually mean from a jobs to be done for them?
Yeah, that's a great question. This is why we do what we do, because there are so many jobs to be done with LaunchDarkly. And within the mobile space or related client-side spaces, there are even more that are specific to those customers. So within LaunchDarkly, teams can release changes on their schedule, regardless of the timing of when app stores get around to approving their app versions. Teams can remotely resolve in-app bugs in real time, which greatly reduces the impact that their customers actually feel. These teams can target their bug fixes on specific cohorts of affected users based on properties like the app version, the operating system version, the device manufacturer, and so forth. And teams can gracefully degrade the customer experience in their legacy app versions. Best of all, they can do so to minimize their tech debt without being at the expense of their customers. But there's actually a lot more that customers can do. So beyond mobile, any software team, mobile or otherwise, can deliver consistent experiences across all of their platforms. Any software team can deliver experiences based on their own business requirements with progressive rollouts, entitlements, specific targeting, and other stuff that our platform offers. Any software team can experiment and measure the success of their changes to continuously improve their app's effectiveness. And soon, any software team can automatically detect and roll back regressions. Putting it all together, LaunchDarkly is the #1 platform for enabling you to build products that your customers love. As shown in your demo, Cody, our recently released Mobile Lifecycle Assistant addresses the unique challenges that mobile teams face every day.
It's totally worth noting that while we added a ton of new features at Galaxy, that the mobile additions that we made are truly about the end-to-end lifecycle functionality. This shows me that we're focused on ensuring that the developer experience for mobile teams is really great. It's not just 1 or 2 individual features that we added. We actually looked at the entire workflow that a mobile development team would go through and address the pain points throughout it.
Yeah, that's right. The Mobile Lifecycle Assistant gives you control over your customer experience at all phases of the mobile app version lifecycle, from developing an app version to publishing and releasing, to addressing bugs, and eventually just to sunsetting or retiring your app versions. LaunchDarkly consistently enables you to make your software whatever you and your customers want it to be. It's configured to streamline your onboarding, allowing you to start feature flagging without having to predict your future targeting needs. It sets teams up to have visibility into the entire mobile landscape tied to the versions of software that you're releasing, giving them better insights into where their applications are used and across what devices. And it's configured to minimize tech debt. Historically, the long tail of app versions made it difficult for mobile teams to safely retire their old code. But that's no longer the case, because teams can now deprecate feature flags, which are in use by the long tail of app versions, but were removed from their newer app versions. Deprecated flags allow you to resolve your tech debt without degrading the customer experience in those older app versions.
That's incredible, Ben. We're running up on the end of time here, and I really appreciate you sharing all of this information with our customers today. It has been really exciting to be a part of building out a set of features that directly address pain points for such an important part of the LaunchDarkly developer base. There really hasn't been a better time to crack open LaunchDarkly and start building your applications. Thanks again, Ben. I can't wait to do this again with you soon.
Thanks for having me.